Hey everyone, so this video will be taking a look at the buffs and nerfs Bomber and I expect to happen in patch 1.13. In general, our videos are fact driven and not opinion driven, so these are videos that are normally generate a bit more discussion and almost a little bit more controversial. I have to say that we've correctly guessed several buffs and nerfs on previous videos, so it'll be interesting to see if we have the same success again. This is patch 1.13 preview predictions. This video has been made in collaboration with Bomber TV. On the last patch, we were hinted that Lee Sin was going to get a well-deserved nerf. Monuments of Power did not shake up the meta at all, even though we got very interesting concepts such as Soraka, Tarmkanj or Domestic Dragons, also including all the landmarks. That's because the current aggro meta doesn't leave much room for experimentation or slow strategies. You either build a deck to counter another one, or you build one of the meta-defining decks. To solve everything, we're going to take a look at some suggestions on nerfs that will probably happen to basically allow other fresh archetypes to emerge, as well as some buffs to directly help underperforming strategies, which could make the meta even more diverse and fun to play. So Lee Sin, I think his attack will be changed from 3 to 2, and leveled up form would be from 4 to 3, and his level up condition will be nerfed to 8+ spells to 10+ spells. The intended rework to Lee Sin had in mind the ability of his champion to come online sooner, since he was previously unplayable on turn 6, and is pretty much a dead card in your hand until you'd leveled him up and did that combo with him, almost a bit like Ezreal now. But they changed him to become a little bit too strong, providing him with insane board presence early on, helping you stabilise against aggro, as well as keeping the combo potential, which is very strong against control, making this archetype have close to no bad matchups. This change both tones down its board presence early on, making you unable to make the same free trades as before in early game, as well as make it a bit weaker against control since the level up condition is harder, leaving more time for control strategies to develop their game plan. So Mentor of the Stones, I think the amount of gems generated should be changed from 3 to 2 on death. Following the same reasoning, Mentor of the Stones often provides too much value both in Lee Sin decks, making Lee Sin level up condition basically almost meet his criteria by half, as well as Soraka decks for a very cheap way of healing targets so many times. Also generates a lot of cards in hand which could be used in discard strategies, or even for cards such as Spacey Sketcher, and of course this is dealing burn damage through attacks whilst also being able to split as we like. Overall this card does a bit too much just in one card, and this change would tone it down to a level that's more fun to play with. So my first nerf I'm going to propose is for Riptide Rex, and the change would be it doesn't damage the Nexus if a unit is dead or gone. This card is pretty tricky to balance as it's very powerful of course, but it's also needed for a piece of so many different archetypes, meaning that touching it could break the meta. I feel like this change is one of the riskiest, and just increasing its cost or reducing its stats a bit could do the trick. But wanted to take a risk and try something a little bit different because I feel the problem lies in the effect rather than other parts of the card. The burn potential from this effect or Nexus capability damaging through Swain triggers are far too powerful. This card doesn't need additional Nexus damaging triggers, as the Plunder would already be activated if this effect is being activated in the first place. The additional damage, the Nexus part, was probably added to make it feel less bad for every missed shot on an already dead unit, but at the end it was simply revealed to be too strong and we should probably get rid of it. Also, it'd even be more thematically fitting in given the theme of the random nature of a cannon barrage in real life. My proposed nerf for Leviathan is to change it from 1 dealing damage 3 times to just dealing 3 damage. Swain Twist of Fate has been a strong contender for quite a while now, and is a deck that's always lurking in the dark, waiting to re-emerge in the right meta, as it's faster than other conventional control decks, and has all the removal packages provided by Bilgewater, and Noxus is pretty strong against aggro strategies in general. The only bad matchup for this deck is a mid-range deck, which gets annihilated by the Leviathan plus Swain. If Swain is already in play,
after you play the Leviathan, then either they have to go hard single target removal, which is basically vengeance at that moment in the metagame, or you can hardly recover from that. Swain and the Leviathan takes away 3 units from the board, whilst also providing a natural win condition given the ticking clock nature of the Leviathan. With this change it would still be a win condition, but it would only be 1 stun out of the game, giving more room for counterplay and not feeling as oppressive as it currently is. Captain Farron, I think, should have his ability changed to create only 2 decimates instead of 3. Captain Farron is currently too strong at finishing. Aggro decks use him like a bomb to finish off the game for an insane amount of reach. You just need to deal 8 damage in the early turns, and you've already won if you manage to reach turn 8. Against aggro decks it's harder, as you still need to gather enough mana to cast all that burn, and hitting the target 8 Nexus health to then close the game out with Captain Farron's 2 decimates with his new effect. Whilst it's much easier to reduce them to 12 like it currently is, with obviously the 3 decimates you'd get before. Remember, he's already an 8/8 with Overwhelm, which also draws 3 cards, which are good enough to be run in a main deck, so this will tone down the Pyro aggro deck there's a lot of at the moment, and burn in general. House Spider, I think, should be changed from 2/2 to 2/1. Currently House Spider is being run in Spider Burn decks, as well as many variations of Swain TF or discard aggro. It's way too versatile as a natural Spider synergy card, a wide summoner of both value and control decks to chump block and put a presence early on the board to complete against aggro, whilst also being a viable option against aggro strategies which like to go wide like discard burn. It also offers a way to trade 2 for 1, the 1/1 trading with their 1 drops and the 2/2 trading with the 2 drops. Overall, reducing the health to 1 would preserve the kind of theme of the card in these aspects, but would make this unit much more punishable by paying an AoE, so think cards like Make It Rain, turning it down into not so interesting card by taking away the 2 drop slot, and preventing much more interesting options and strategies that you'd like to see in this 2 drop. You obviously don't want to be seeing the same card at the same stage in every single type of deck. So would it still be great against wide synergies and spider strategies though? I don't know. But typically I don't care about spiders having high health, so I think it would still be fine even with this nerf. So now I want to look at some buffs, and first up is Hecarim. So I think his leveled up effect should be changed so ephemeral allies don't die at the end of the turn. Now hear me out. Hecarim and the ephemeral archetype in general has been underperforming for quite a while now, so this would be a very big buff. But it would make it a much more interesting champion as well, as making him more thematically, so having all those spirits etc. lingering around instead of disappearing. This would shake things up quite a lot, and it would give him a better incentive for playing the ephemeral archetype in general. I can't really say if this would make him too strong without testing, but we could always tweak stats or the cost afterwards. But what we need is a champion to be much more interesting, and this change would definitely spice things up. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on this, because some may think it's too powerful, some may think it's interesting.
So I think Vladimir's level up condition should be buffed, so not 6 allies need to be a surviving damage, it needs to be 4, and the new text needs to be, for each attacking ally, deal 1 damage to it, and deal 1 to the enemy nexus. So it becomes drain 1 once leveled up, and you remove the other than Vladimir part. So with the natural synergy of Soraka or the self-damaging package of Buildwater, people are yet to start experimenting with Vladimir. When they do, they fail as he currently is the champion with the lowest win rate. It may be because of how slow he is to become active, and he falls in the category of champions that you want to play get already leveled up on the turn you're playing them in a dedicated deck, for example like Darius, Sejuani or Gangplank. In general, basically the mid-range champions. Vladimir fails to do so even in a dedicated deck, reducing its condition as well as making his effect target himself will give himself an easier time of leveling up, as well as having some additional synergies in Burn, Nexus Healing, Self-Damaging and Plunder archetypes. So Blood for Blood should be changed from a fast spell to a burst spell. So this buff is linked to the Vladimir one we've already talked about. The ability to draw a specific card is very valuable, and if you have that card already in play, deal 1 damage to it and make it survive, whilst your opponent can have an easy way of removing it. Basically means there's a high chance that you're going to waste mana and resources, and then play this card to become less desirable. But making it a burst spell, it'd be much easier to make this combo and value plays for a fair cost. So Crimson Aristocrat, I think, should have its power change from 2 to 3. So this is also linked to the Vladimir buff already proposed, and its much more desirable stat line will increase the overall value of this card, making it more versatile on trades, as well as supporting the more aggressive self-damaging playstyle. So think about it at the moment, you've got a very low mana on this card, and you obviously need another unit that will benefit from being targeted by this, and it's obviously quite clunky to play in an early game, so I feel this buff in power would just kind of make it almost justify it and almost be more playable in its own right by itself. So I think Legion Veterans should have a bit of a rework, so if I have 4 mana change to 3 mana, 4 power change to 3 power, and 5 health change to 4. So this change will make him come online a bit faster, getting on average more activations, and supporting more self-damaging archetypes. I've always found him a really fascinating card. He was actually one of the first exotics I ever got in the game, and I love building decks around him. So I just think this rework would give him just that little bit more love, and basically make him have the play count that he deserves as a champion. I think it's a really fun concept, and we don't see nearly as much of him that we should. And there we go, guys. What do you think will change in patch 1.13? I personally find the balance changes so interesting, as I love how it changes the meta. All the suggestions made are based off Bomber TV's personal experience of the metagame as a Master Tier player. He analyses stats thanks to mobile analytics, in particular by taking a look at his highest win rate cards with high popularity in the Masters Tier for nerfs, whilst looking at the lowest win rate and low popularity cards for buffs. Links to his channel are in the card above, description and pinned comment. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.